But there's a lot of information in the rule book, and I really, if you're going to move up a level, go read the definition in the rule book about the movements you're going to try to perform. Now, maybe you still won't be able to do it 100%, but at least you'll have an idea of what the concepts are. And then in the dressage tests themselves, we have what we call the purpose. And we don't just sit around and drink wine and come up with this. Well, yes, we do. But the purpose is very important. Read it and see if you can really do this stuff. The purpose of training level is to confirm that the horse's muscles are supple and loose, and that it moves freely forward in a clear and steady rhythm, accepting contact with the bit. So does that mean your horse has to be on the bit for training level? No. But it has to be accepting the contact. So that means if his head's up here like this and he's looking at the stars, that's not the right concept. Now, if your horse is on the bit, will you get a higher score? Probably. The highest score I've ever given at training level, 88%. One of Willie Ark's horses, super horse. Okay, so again, quality of the gaits. Remember, we're talking about the judge's methodology. We start with the quality of the gaits. So, I'm sorry about this, but this is still an Olympic sport. The horse is the athlete. The rider's also an athlete, by the way, for all of you who can't do sitting trot for more than 30 seconds. The rider should be fit as well. And if your horse is a quarter horse, I'm an old rodeo queen. I know about Joe Leo, Doc Bar Leo. And I also rode Appaloosas, so I know about them. But they don't have the gaits some of the warm bloods do. So if you don't have a horse with expensive gaits, you better be able to train them better. Because we had the two tests being the same. If a horse, like Floriano, who's a very good mover, he usually gets an 8 on gaits, does exactly the same test as far as accuracy and mistakes as my little Leo Doc Bar Leo Grand Prix, he's going to kick my ass. Because the score starts higher because of the quality of the gaits. Steffen starts with a 7, 8, sometimes a 9. And then you put the training scale on top of that, and then the actual movement. And I start out with a 6 because that's all little Leo can do. I might get 1 point because the training was good. So I'm going to end up with a 7, and he's going to end up with an 8 or a 9. Who's going to win? Is it fair? No, but it's reality. So that's the way it is. Now, if he makes a total mess, melts down, can't do his pirouettes, which he usually gets 9 on, but let's just say, like that one time, remember, at Gladstone where the pirouettes just went away, and it was like, oh my God, they just went away, okay? So let's say Marlondo does the same thing. He just says, oh, I'm not pirouetting today. And little Leo goes in and he's a little star, he makes no mistakes. And, Steffen's horse has had a whole lot of mistakes. Now I have a chance, okay? But the reality is, guys, we start as judges our score with the quality of gaits. It's the way it is. And it doesn't matter if you're a junior. We've had many requests that we should judge adult amateurs on a different scale. Well, like I said, it's hard enough to teach judges to judge on the same scale for everybody, so that would be also something that won't happen. So we're trying to have a good standard. We have a good training program in the U.S. We're recognized as having one of the best training programs in the whole world for our judges, and that's great. Our judges are very well educated. They have to ride the level that they're judging, and that doesn't happen in all the European countries. You're going to be judged by a lot of little old ladies who've never sat on a horse. Or little old men. There's a lot more little old men in Germany than there are here. So We have to start with the quality of the gaits. We then look at the training scale. And then we finally, the last piece we put in is the movement. Okay, what are the requirements of the movement? Okay, so we'll talk about some of those requirements as we do the movement, so you all have an idea, hopefully a little bit better of why you're getting the scores. So we have our two riders that are going to do some training in first level. Could I have one of you do a center line and halt from training level? Okay, training level says that you can walk into and out of the halt. Okay? And then the other one will do the first level halt, which says you have to go trot, halt, trot. Okay? So, I'll tell you a little bit as they come down what I'm looking at. Now at C, you can't really see much of the quality of the gait. If you're a judge on the side, you see that more. So center line, you're a little stuck, but you can see the straightness. Should go stand at C. So a little bit of drifting. Don't think she knows where X is. So I would say the halt was past X and transitions gradual. Okay, and then walk a few steps. Trot and turn. So my score for training level is 6. Okay, because it wasn't awful, but the little pieces, my comments would talk about the straightness, the location. So I do have one comment about the accuracy, which is usually the last piece. But the contact was pretty nice. At training level, we don't expect the halt to be perfectly square. Okay, if the horse is carrying the same amount of weight on 4 legs, that's okay. Resting a hind leg is always a fault. At Grand Prix, it's going to be a 5. At training level, the halt can still probably be a 6. Okay, so Erin, you want to do the first level halt? Very straight. Fell on his right shoulder for balance. Walks into the trot. So as a judge, we like to say something positive first. Now, I know not every judge, I'm going to hear this. Not every judge is the best judge in the world. Okay? Not every secretary is the best secretary in the world. Not every... Hopefully all my airline pilots are fabulous, but you know, in every industry we have different standards of workers. Okay, hopefully every judge does the same thing, but we know they don't. Ideally, my positive score would be straight, because it was very straight, it was energetic, those were the good parts. The bad parts were the walking into the trot, and then he kept getting for me a little bit too low. He was a little bit leaning and dragging her down, and that's not a good thing. If the judge sees all of your horse's braids in the halt, yeah, not good. Okay? And if your horse bobs its head, don't put white tape on the braids. Hello? You know, it's like, let me be. You guys sometimes, what are you thinking? You know, why do you do that? So for training level, balance-wise, I would say they're fine. Okay? The black horse is maybe more on the bit, but he's maybe too much on the bit, where the chestnut's a little bit unsteady. So